Welcome back to another snorkeling adventure. Some people think that in order to see a really beautiful fish, you've got to go to the ocean. But I'm in a creek smack dab in the middle of Alabama, and I'm looking for the federally endangered Vermillion darter. When you see how colorful this fish is, it's gonna blow your mind. See this guy? This is a guy who made a fish mistake. While I did find a colorful fish that looked like the 4th of July and very well may blow your mind, it's not the Vermillion darter. Their breeding colors faded like a month ago, and I failed to realize this until, well, you'll see. So I've just been scouting where I'm going to snorkel up and downstream. Some of the faster moving areas are going to be better spots to look. There's actually quite a few people out on the creek today, which is cool. It's a good day to be out here. But I'm going to go get suited up, get snorkeling, and see if we can find this really cool rare darter. All right, that right there, that's what we're looking for. Spoiler alert, I do find them, but they don't really look like that. The water's super clear in the creek, which is good news for me. I was kind of worried the viz might be blown out, but it's looking good. I haven't seen anyone else with a snorkel here today, but they should be snorkeling. Whoa. I just saw, I think it's an Alabama shiner, fully colored up. So we're gonna get some multiple colorful fishes this video. Oh, look how naive and excited I am. Sorry, bro. You're only gonna see one species of colorful fish, but you'll still have a good time. Time to suit up. It's really hot today. I don't know how necessary this is, but it's free sun protection without having to put sunscreen on. And even though it's a really warm day, I don't know how long it's gonna take me to find these fish. I may be laying still in the water for like 2 hours. Who knows? You can get hypothermia in pretty warm water because it conducts heat away from your body way faster than air. So I'm still putting the top on. A little slippery out here today. Good to know. Oh, a little cold. It's called fashion, baby. Look it up. Forgot my snorkel in the car. Son of a biscuit. Darters tend to like the faster moving sections of the creek, so it's a good place to start, and I'll just work my way down. It's pretty shallow, but I've snorkeled in plenty of shallow water before. Recently, most of my creek snorkeling adventures have been pretty murky. Well, not today. I was kind of blown away by how clear the water was, and right off the bat, I was greeted by a swirling school of fish in the distance. As I tracked them with my camera, suddenly a burst of red, white, and blue shot into my frame. This is the Alabama shiner. Now, almost all of these fish are actually Alabama shiners, but I was lucky enough to find a few males that were still flared up in breeding colors, even at the tail end of their spawning season, which runs from April to early July. The 2 males seemed to be having a lazy battle over a little cove on the riverbed, circling each other and passive-aggressively flaring their turquoise dorsal fins. The slightly larger male managed to hold his ground without too much effort, and then began feeding on some invisible substance in the crevice of the rock. I never actually saw what he was eating, but I wondered if it might be shiner eggs, supplementing his usual diet of small aquatic invertebrates. These fish spawn in crevices with fast-moving water. Females will shove their adhesive eggs way up in the crack, while males do a fertilization drive-by. This tactic for egg placement generally helps to keep most predators away, but maybe not so much when it's from their own species. In spawning season, males develop this steely blue color, vibrant fins, and even become encrusted with little spiky tubercles all over the top of their body. The tubercles are thought to aid in combat with other males, as well as signal to females that they're ready to breed. It's always a pleasant surprise to find an explosion of color like this in a creek, and to come face to face with a punk rock 4th of July looking fish within just a few seconds of sticking my face in the water, not too shabby. I watched as the male and female Alabama shiners danced in the current over the bedrock bottom of the creek. I'm a little embarrassed to admit it, but I was born in Alabama, and I didn't even know these guys existed until a couple years ago. And this is my first time seeing them in full-blown breeding colors in the wild. I may have unknowingly peaked early in the colorful creek fish department, but there's still plenty more to explore, including finding the endangered Vermillion darter. So I snorkeled onward. My first observation was that there was hella snails. And you might think, okay, sure, he means there were a few snails. No, there were tons of snails. I'm talking like bison dotting the Great Plains, but replace the bison with mollusks and the grasses with bedrock. There were loads. The creek itself was stunning. There were shady canyons lined with small boulders and some killer sunbeams. Shallow riffles spilled over sprawling gravel bars, and little waterfalls were scattered all throughout the creek. I did come across a few crayfish, and some of them were pretty big, like this fellow. It actually sneak blasted away without me realizing it, so I ended up just filming this bare rock for a while. But it wasn't long before I found a few more crayfish. This small one just curled up in a ball on the bottom of the creek. But in an especially swift part of the creek, in a little bedrock amphitheater, I found this big old crayfish, probably about 4 to 5 inches long. Here's my hand for reference. His claws were so big I couldn't even see his face behind them. In a deeper part of the creek, I met this bass. This is a warrior bass. They're native to a pretty small drainage in Alabama and have some pretty cool barring down their sides. These guys were actually very visible even from above the surface, and although most of the creek fish were largely ignored by the swimmers and hikers, I did see a few people get excited when they spotted a warrior bass, so that was pretty cool. As it turns out, shallow snorkeling in a rocky creek is kind of hard work. There's a lot of slithering and goleming about, all with my camera housing in tow, and so far I was having no luck finding darters. So I decided to haul out and move upstream in search of more promising waters. I wormed my way back into the creek and once again took a look down below. This time, I was surrounded by gravel bars and the water was extra quick. Prime darter habitat. And it wasn't long before I found my first darter. Not a vermilion, but a black-banded darter. This is a very common species of darter that has made appearances in several of my videos. They range throughout much of the southeast, extending from the Mississippi River down into Florida and up to South Carolina. They're a medium-sized darter, maxing out around 4 inches, and are easily identified by that characteristic black band running down their side. Not the darter I'm looking for, but it's a sign we're in the right spot. Also, this bloke was looking pretty majestic in that dappled sunlight. Good stuff. I continued my search, and I wasn't just casually looking around. I was hardcore searching, just booty up in the creek, peeking around rocks and sticking my head in riffles, trying to find this elusive darter. Although my quarry continued to elude me, all this hard searching turned up some more cool wildlife along the way, like this guy. My homeboy, the Alabama hogsucker. It's been a while since I've seen one of these guys on a snorkeling adventure. Somehow I managed to spot this guy, the banded sculpin. This fish may as well have been invisible. The bands on its body made it look like 3 separate rocks, nearly indistinguishable from the rest of the gravel bar. Sculpin are known to be highly sensitive to pollution and are considered to be an indicator of overall stream health, so their presence in a place like this is a good sign. Then, at last, I saw an oblong-shaped fish in the distance. It was quick. Blink and you might miss it. This is a Vermillion darter. And then it went over the rock and I never saw it again. But thankfully, not too long after, I did find quite a few more Vermillion darters. And they're all different sizes, too. Now you might think that finding this handful of fish means they're doing just fine, but they're endangered for a reason. The Vermillion darter is only found along this 10-mile stretch of creek and nowhere else on the planet. This habitat is all this species has. A lot of amazing conservation work has been done to protect and restore this little stretch of creek, but there's always an uncertainty that comes with an isolated ecosystem. I was really glad to have finally found the Vermillion darters. It was no doubt a privilege to get to see these endangered little fish in their natural habitat. But I was still kind of bummed I didn't time my snorkel adventure right to catch the Vermillions in full-blown breeding regalia. However, it did make me stop and think. If you're a little fish on the brink, do you have to be brightly colored to earn continued existence? Sure, being brightly colored 3 months out of the year may have helped the Vermillion darter's case, but shouldn't I care about the boring creatures as well? I'll for sure be back to see the Vermillion darters when they're full blown, but no matter how dull or quote-unquote boring looking they may be, all of these creek creatures are worth it, even if they look like a rock.
Not too bad for a little spring-fed creek in Alabama. Been a couple short videos because spring and summer is the middle of my field season at work, but thanks for your patience with that. This fall I've got a couple really big videos and a big series planned that I'm really excited about, so stay tuned for that. And then of course also at the end of the summer there will be another merch drop with a new design, so it's gonna be cool. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Put on another snorkel adventure, and I will see you next time.